finally made a script. For those of you who care, my name is Matt. I'm a student at New Mexico State University. I'm studying animal sciences. Chances are, if you're watching this video, it means you already know about the Lacey Act, or you already know me, and I've already spoken out against the Lacey Amendment Act that would come as part of the Competes Act. But if you don't fit that category, the Lacey Act of 1900 prohibits the sale and transportation of illegal fish, wildlife, and plants. Additionally, it enables the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to designate species that are harmful to human health and the environment as injurious. If passed into law, the America Competes Act would amend the Lacey Act to allow the Secretary of the Interior to prohibit the importation of injurious species for a maximum of 3 years under an emergency designation. In short, it would prevent animals which aren't dogs or cats from crossing state borders. It's an effort to prevent what's already happening in Florida, which is an invasive species problem. Reticulated ball pythons and green iguanas have devastated the Florida ecosystem because of irresponsible owners that didn't want the burden of keeping an animal that can grow to be huge and live for years. They decided they didn't want that once they had already had the animal. And the problem is in New Mexico as well, because red-eared sliders are invasive too. Little Timmy wanted a turtle that was oh so cute, since he's just the little size of a quarter. But when the turtle outgrew the 10-gallon enclosure that Timmy had put him in, Mom said, well, Sheldon wasn't happy, and Sheldon would be happier in the Rio Grande, where he could eat the native vegetation and breed with other red-eared sliders that had also made their way to the Rio Grande. Well, I believe that there's a problem with invasive species, and there's other solutions too than to just keep us from keeping them in the first place. All of that said, I happen to have a crested gecko, and once I graduate from New Mexico State University, I'd like to go to Colorado State University for vet school, and I'll want to take my gecko with me. So I'm already mad because I am capable of properly housing my gecko, and I know not to let him go into the natural ecosystem. And even if I did, he dies if it's too hot, he dies if it's too cold, he dies if it's too humid, he dies if it's not humid enough. And Colorado or New Mexico are nothing like the environment from where he's from, which is New Caledonia. But if he were to get loose due to my negligence, he would die. So I'm already mad because the rules harm everyone, both responsible and irresponsible pet owners. Now I'm even more mad, though, because of the response I got from my senators about the situation. When light was first shed about the whole thing, I was encouraged to email my senators with why the Lacey Amendment was not ideal. I copied and pasted a well-thought-out and well-articulated message that someone had already made, and I got a copy and paste in return, basically. Senator Heinrich responded saying that he supported the amendments. That's whatever. He then said, though, I will keep your thoughts in mind as I continue to closely monitor evidence about the presence of COVID-19 on farms and ranches, and as I work to advance policies based on the best available science that will help rebuild thriving local farms, ranches, and communities all across New Mexico. Well, the problem isn't COVID. As I've already described, the problem is bad owners. NMSU is an agricultural school where I live up the street from cattle, sheep, horses, swine. The professors do research at the large ranch in Corona, New Mexico. Funny enough, it's named Corona. But if there was any cases of COVID on these farms and ranches that the NMSU owns, I haven't heard it. And although I suspect I would have, because the professors talk. One of the professors would have told my class one of the animals got COVID and died, or one of the animals got COVID and spread it to the rest of the herd. Like I say, I've not heard any of that by now, and I think I would have. Also, what would we be able to do if we did see COVID in one of our cows? We can't shut down the beef industry like we did the whole world for 2 years, because America relies far too much on the beef to be willing to stop producing it, let alone to stop consuming it. We'd say, well, we don't really care. We already suffered the pandemic. we'll they'd make up some excuse as to why to keep the beef industry up and running. So we'd be able to do nothing anyways. And the problem gets even more frustrating when you consider how pandemics play out. A virus does not infect its host to kill the host. A virus infects the host so that it can reproduce and continue spreading. So when its host started dying, it evolved to become less deadly, since what good is a dead host if it can't spread? That's why the pandemic has started to end, and it's why we're finally starting to come out from under our rocks again. So no, COVID's not the problem. The problem stems from invasive species and bad owners who don't know enough about their animal. And that has been the spiel that I typed out. But I want to also shed light on the economics of the whole situation, because I don't have the facilities to breed reptiles. El Paso does. The local pet shop here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, doesn't have the facilities to breed their reptiles. El Paso does. So, or maybe Arizona does. But the problem is, El Paso, although it's like, El Paso and Las Cruces are a little bit weird, because El Paso may as well be part of New Mexico, but it's also, part of Texas. But I guess instead of using El Paso, let's use San Antonio as an example. Well, Las Cruces gets their animals from San Antonio because their pet store can't breed them because they don't have enough space, or they don't have enough lighting or whatever. Well, this act would prevent that. You can't transport animals across state lines anymore. So it would either force the store here to upgrade their facilities and spend a lot of money doing so. And so it would force them to also increase their prices on us, and it would inevitably cause them to go out of business. And I support the guys here at my local reptile store. I think they're awesome. And they're always super helpful, but I don't want that to see that. And it also creates a black market, and because I don't, I like following the law. I like to be a law-abiding citizen, but if it's illegal for me to transport my gecko across state lines, I don't want to have to leave my mom with him. I don't want to have to leave my mom with him. I don't have to leave him with my mom because she doesn't have the same passion for caring for him as I do. So I would find any way I could to bring him across state lines, and they'd be making me a criminal. And it would also incriminate anyone else who was doing the same thing. I think I'm a good enough pet owner that I wouldn't have to that he wouldn't have to go to the vet. But my gecko, if he were to get sick, I can't imagine there's many places here in New Mexico that know what to do with a sick crested gecko. It's just not that we just don't keep those kinds of animals here because of a little bit of problems that occurred before I was born. But that we're just not that kind of economy where it's very common to keep reptiles and fish and stuff. And the problem also becomes fish because I like keeping fish. But it'd make us criminals. Because okay, that's where I was going with that. I'm sorry. If my gecko were to get sick, there's nowhere here to take care of him. There's no vets here to take care of him. Well, I might have to travel across state borders to get to get care for him. And apparently I can't because it's illegal, because Kevin here is injurious. And even though he dies, even though he's sensitive to change, it makes me mad. And I can understand why it's made a lot of people mad. I can understand why some people would support it because, yes, there's a problem with invasive species, but there's other solutions to keeping invasive species. For example, something I've always thought of would be registering your pet and holding a license for keeping that pet. I'd be happy to keep a license saying I can keep crested geckos. That way, if something happens and the government decides that they need to come and check up on me, where's your gecko? You didn't report him dead. You didn't report him. Where's your gecko? If he's not in your enclosure, did he not die? You let him go? Well, now you're a criminal because you let an invasive species go. And that would hold reptile owners accountable because they don't want to go to jail. And I don't think Timmy's mom would want to go to jail either, because she encouraged him to let go of the turtle. And there's 500,000 other ways to solve the invasive pet problem, the invasive animal problem here in the U.S. It's just frustrating because it sheds a bad light on people like me who just have one crested gecko and want to take him to Colorado, and it sheds a bad light on people in Arizona. Yeah, it sheds a bad light on people in Arizona who actually do have good large facilities who sell their animals, but they can't sell their animals anymore because it'd be crossing state lines. And it just creates a whole clusterfuck of black markets and shady loopholes. And I just wanted to go and I just wanted to come on and I wanted to tell you guys about it because if I'm on Instagram, you guys have already seen all my story posts. If I'm on YouTube, you already have seen all the probably a bunch of our other stuff at the Lacey Act already, but I wanted to give my 2 cents and just give my 2 cents. So thank you for listening if you did. I appreciate it. I don't know if I don't know what all I can do about it because all I'm doing right now is ranting, but I appreciate you listening to it, and I guess I'll keep you guys updated, and I might rant more in the future. Thank you guys.